Bernard Langlais actually talked about what drew him to this property was a granite ledge that was out in front of the house overlooking River Road, and he saw this as just screaming for a sculpture. And the very first piece that he created here in the spring of 1966 was the Trojan Horse, which still stands today overlooking River Road. In 1966, Langlais began this project of populating this property with his outdoor pieces. He populated this property with what was originally over 100 outdoor pieces. Many of them large-scale, three-dimensional pieces, but also he covered the barns and buildings with reliefs, large-scale wooden reliefs, again often depicting animals from the jungle to the forest to the farm, even some sort of make-believe animals. I lived on the Langlais estate from 2010 to 2012. I was hired by the Colby Museum to manage this estate after it passed into Colby's hands following the death of Helen Langlais, Bernard Langlais' widow. Upon arriving here at the Langlais estate, I undertook the project of inventorying everything that was contained within the estate. And ultimately, we discovered that there were over 3,500 works of art by Bernard Langlais contained here in the buildings and sitting out on the property. After we had undertaken that part of this project and taken an inventory of everything that was here, we began the process of making selections from the estate for the Colby Museum. The next step was to think about what was going to happen to this estate. The 90 acres of land, the over 30 outdoor sculptures that were on the property, and the over 3,000 works of art that were still contained here. And this was a task that was rather daunting and really beyond the scope of what Colby could manage. And I became aware of the Kohler Foundation, this incredibly unique organization that makes as its mission the preservation of artist-built environments and the preservation of collections by a single artist, often a self-taught artist, but not exclusively. And so I was thrilled when Terry Yoho, the director of the Kohler Foundation, came to Cushing to see the property and responded to it in a very positive way as something that the Kohler Foundation would be interested in. And we began a year-long negotiation about whether Kohler would be interested in taking ownership of this property and doing the work needed to preserve it in some capacity. And in order for that to happen, we had to find what we've termed the ultimate recipient. The way that Kohler works is they come in and they take temporary ownership of a property and do great, terrific conservation work and basically prepare the site to be gifted to a long-term steward who will care for it and provide public access.
So what you're seeing is wood that's robust on the exterior, but with skyward facing pieces which were not capped or protected. Water was running into the wood, and you either have biodeterioration in the form of wood rot or you have insect infestation. And this is an example of both. So this wood has to be removed and then a Dutchman repair, putting in a piece of stable, long-term stable wood in its place to make it structurally sound.
We courted a number of different organizations, and ultimately the Georges River Land Trust, based in Rockland, Maine, was going to be a terrific partner for this project. Their interest in land conservation, but also their recent interest in providing opportunities for artists to work on the land was very exciting, both to Colby and to Kohler, as far as finding this sort of third partner in this project.
The Georges River Land Trust's primary focus is conservation of our natural lands and our farmlands that support our local economy. But we're always interested in working with new partners. So we're delighted to be working with Colby College Museum of Art and the Kohler Foundation on this Langlais project. It's a great way for us to bring two different sectors of our community together, those people interested in art and those people interested in conservation. The two come together so perfectly on the Langlais project, and we're hoping that it will be a doorway for new collaborations.
So I'm returning to the property for the first time in several weeks, and I've just come across this wonderful site, which is this standing bear created by Langlais in the early 1970s. that has been brought back to its original glory by the Kohler conservators. This piece, prior to my visit here today, was very sort of weathered and gray. There were dark areas around the eyes. None of the original paint was very apparent. And in a way it had its own appeal, but seeing it brought back to the way it was when Langlais first raised it here on the property is just very exciting and attests to the great work that the Kohler Foundation is doing to bring these pieces back. This piece, called Local Girl, he created in 1968, and many might recognize this form as Christina Olson from Andrew Wyeth's painting Christina's World, which is a sort of an icon of 20th century American art. Andrew Wyeth painted that picture just a few miles further down the peninsula at the Olson house. And Langlais created this piece in 1968, the year that Christina Olson died. So again, this was sort of an homage to her, and Langlais talked about wanting people to be able to see her face, because in the famous Wyeth painting, of course, we only see her from the back. And so this piece, being in the round, gives visitors an opportunity to see Christina's face. This is a painted elephant that Langlais did in the last year or two of his life. And it's one of over 20 pieces that Langlais created in 1976 and 1977, the last 2 years of his life. He had this feeling that his time was running out. He was very ill in those last 2 years, and despite that, he continued to work and create, and there was just this outpouring of these major works. And this elephant was originally sort of brilliantly painted. The sides have these beautiful red panels kind of mimicking what would have been sort of a blanket over the elephant. And on the inside of the piece, there are, and the original paint is still visible there because it's been protected from the elements, there are peanuts and bananas inside, which is just this very sort of humorous nod towards, what elephants would like to have in their bellies. The piece actually has a set of stairs inside that one could climb up and sit on top of the elephant on what's called a howdah, that sort of platform on top of the elephant. And I've read in Helen Langley's notes about this piece that her niece was actually married on top of this elephant, which is a wonderful sort of personal anecdote about this particular piece. I would say that the horse has actually, because of its presence on River Road from 1966 until today, people really associate this spot on the Cushing Peninsula with Langlais. And in my time here, in talking to community members, no one can believe that Langlais has been gone as long as he has. He died in 1977. And I chalk that up to the horse, which is just sort of this constant reminder on this main road leading down the Cushing Peninsula of Langlais' presence here. Working with the Kohler Foundation and the Georges River Land Trust, we want to maintain that. We want to maintain his legacy here in Cushing for the future, and are very excited about what the future may hold for this site in Langlais' memory.